Good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News. Here's what we have in the bulletin. Jamaica now in the fifth wave of COVID-19. COVID cases on the rise in educational institutions. And later in sports, Jamaica Scorpions take early advantage over Windward Volcanoes in regional cricket competition. I'm Shane Masters. Here are the details. The Health Ministry has confirmed that Jamaica is now experiencing the fifth wave of COVID-19 cases. The authorities outlined the developments at a virtual press briefing Wednesday morning.
This inflection point for the fifth wave occurred around April 20th, 2022. The inflection point is not immediately apparent. Clearly, there's a lag effect. It takes about 2 weeks, given that the assessment involves the use of data of onset of cases. We need to allow time for presentation to the healthcare system after onset of symptoms, sampling, testing of samples, and of course, reporting. This fifth wave is likely due to the Omicron subvariant BA.2, given the increasing proportion of this subvariant in the population and its higher transmissibility.
COVID-19 cases is considered medium at this time. The health officials also indicated that most of the cases are mild, but they warned that persons with mild cases are prone to developing long COVID. Persons are therefore being encouraged to get vaccinated. However, at this time, the government has not re-implemented a mandate for people to wear masks or use other COVID control measures.
We're encouraged to practice infection prevention control measures, including the wearing of masks, hand washing, physical distancing, and very importantly, staying at home. If you are sick, the protocols are there around staying at home. If you are positive or if you feel ill, then you really ought to stay at home. And I think the protocol is up to 10 days and then you return. With all of this, of course, we're trying to balance the normal restoration of activities in the society.
In the meantime, the Education Ministry says the number of COVID-19 cases among students and teachers ballooned within the first 2 weeks of May. In the first week of May, 22 students and 7 teachers tested positive for COVID-19. But by the second week, some 136 students and 105 teachers tested positive for the virus across schools. As a result of a spread, at least 7 high schools had to make adjustments with face-to-face classes.
For example, Kingston College's Melbourne campus reverted its grades 7 to 9 to online since last week into the Labor Day weekend to resume on May 26th with face-to-face. And there are some other schools you'll see on the screen that indicated to us that they might have had to send off a class or so into the virtual space in order to be able to continue school.
School leaders, in the meantime, have been advised to limit large gatherings, bolster their sanitization areas, and increase the education campaign among students on how to stay safe. The Education Ministry will also host town hall meetings with parents and other stakeholders on how to navigate the latest threat, especially with CSEC and CAPE exams coming up.
To ensure that our exam students, those who test positive, are still able to do their test, and we will give our school guidance as quickly as we can on that matter.
Now, days of protests have spilled over to the campus of the University of the Commonwealth Caribbean, UCC. Students are outraged about the announcement of a 50% tuition fee hike. They protested outside the main campus in St. Andrew this morning.
We cannot afford it, and we're out here today to tell them to either 10% or nothing. We have persons who want to leave today. A lot of us here want to transfer. A lot of us here is going to exit with associate. Some of us can't exit because our degree does not entail that. But at the end of the day, we must try somewhere else. We need justice for UCC students.
UCC isn't producing enough to want an increase. The quality of education that we're getting here, sometimes it is very poor, and then at the end of the day, grades aren't released on time, so we can't get to our grades. And then they want to raise a tuition for something that they're not producing. So if you want to raise something, produce, and let us see what we're paying for. But we're not seeing what we're paying for at this time.
The school has since issued a press release outlining the reasons for the increase, citing high inflation and increase in utility costs among the reasons. There were 4 fatal crashes across sections of the island over the last 24 hours. According to the police, 2 of the crashes happened in Trelawney, 1 in Manchester and the other in St. James. In St. James, a delivery operator with Hugo died after he lost control of his bike and hit an embankment. His pillion was admitted to hospital in serious condition. According to reports, the accident happened around 1 a.m. on the Howard Cook Boulevard. His identity is still unknown. However, an eyewitness told our news team that the driver's life could have been saved by members of a security force if a unit which passed earlier had rendered assistance.
Police pass about half an hour, and all of them say, whoa, none of them not stop. So what the big deal when they come with a big attitude? And they need to know for these people. Right here, with the 2 men them lie down. 1 dead and 1 not dead, and none of them not stop.
So police pass,
Yes.
And no police
No police stop.
How does that make you feel as a citizen of Jamaica?
It make me feel bad. Then just I get free money, and they need to stop.
Over in Manchester, 48-year-old Carlton Simpson of a Spring Grove address in Porus, Manchester, died following a 3-vehicle collision on the Content Main Road about 7:30 last night. Reports are that the man was driving a Honda Civic motor car when it collided with a garbage truck and a Honda Step wagon 7 minutes to 8 o'clock. It's understood that firefighters had to free him from the wreckage. It's unclear how many other persons may have been injured. In Trelawney, 67-year-old Hubert Smith of Duncan's Trelawney died after he was involved in a 3-vehicle collision. That accident happened around 8:30 yesterday morning. Meanwhile, 47-year-old Wickham of a racecourse address in Falmouth died after sustaining injuries after the driver of a Toyota Corolla motor car lost control of a vehicle and hit him. It's understood Mr. Wickham was walking along the roadway when he was mowed down. And it's time for a break here on the Midday News. Stay with us, much more when we return. Welcome back to the Midday News. Indian President Ramnath Kovind says he's hoping to strengthen the bilateral relationship with Jamaica. He was addressing a special sitting of the Parliament on Tuesday.
A glimmer of hope for the country's beleaguered railway service. The President of India, President Ramnath Kovind, says his country can help Jamaica develop a reliable railway service, which is one of India's main modes of transportation, as well as providing higher education in technology. India is planning on setting up several technology campuses worldwide, and Jamaica may be one of the locations.
Jamaican students should take advantage of this opportunity by studying at some of the best institutions respected globally, charging only a fraction of the cost compared to Western institutions.
An announcement that was welcomed by Prime Minister Andrew Holness.
Very positive statement for Jamaica.
What about the Institute of Technology?
Excellent idea.
Excellent.
And Education Minister Favour Williams.
To the extent that they are interested in, spearheading something along that magnitude here in Jamaica, we welcome it, of course. I know between here and there would be a lot that we'd have to work out in terms of the logistics of it and so forth, but it's something that I look forward to moving along, action in.
Minister Williams says the Institute of Technology will be a separate entity from the government's existing STEM schools. The Institute of Technology is renowned for research that powers villages using renewable energy, building robots to check for cracks on railways to prevent collisions, and making electric scooters. He lists music, food, fashion, people, and rich culture as what sets the small island developing nation apart.
For a country with less than 3 million people, it is amazing to see Jamaica's dominance in athletics at the Olympics, World Championships, and other premier sporting events. Sometimes we feel jealous of you.
It's also what draws many countries, including India, to it.
Jamaica is poised for even greater economic success. Its leadership in the CARICOM region, international rules-based behavior, and the desire to shoulder greater responsibility make it a partner of choice for other countries.
Kalisha Williams, TVJ.
And we now take a look in the financial world. Here's Codian Barrett with the Business Minute.
Cargo handlers registered an increase in profits of $50.1 million for its second quarter ended March. For the same period last year, the shipping company made a profit of $35.5 million. Revenue for the company also increased, amounting to $110.1 million. That's $43 million more than last year. Cargo handlers says the construction sector largely influenced its performance, with higher volumes of cement coming into the island. And Mailpack Group saw reduced profit for the 3 months ended March. Profit for the quarter was $56.31 million versus $103.4 million the prior year. Revenue for the quarter also declined. Revenue amounted to $398.5 million compared to $470 million the same period last year. The mailing company says its reduced earnings were driven by the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, inflationary pressures, supply chain challenges, and record levels of inflation, which triggered a reduction in e-commerce activity globally. That's it for the Business Minute. I'm Codian Barrett.
And here's a preview of what's coming up in this evening's Health Report.
In this evening's Health Report, we look at speech and language delay in children.
So we're looking at both their ability, the quality of their speech or their ability to use speech, and then we're looking at language, their ability to use words and communicate meaning, to also demonstrate comprehension, their ability to use language to express their needs and desires, and also to communicate with other person, have dialogues.
That's the Health Report in Primetime News at 7. And now for today's Healthy Living tip. Focus on communication. Talk with your baby. Sing and encourage imitation of sounds and gestures. Read to your child. Start reading when your child is a baby. And use everyday situations to build on your child's speech. In this evening's Health Report, we look at speech and language delay in children.
So we're looking at both their ability, the quality of their speech or their ability to use speech, and then we're looking at language, their ability to use words and communicate meaning, to also demonstrate comprehension, their ability to use language to express their needs and desires, and also to communicate with other person, have dialogues.
That's the Health Report in Primetime News at 7. And now for today's Healthy Living tip. Focus on communication. Talk with your baby. Sing and encourage imitation of sounds and gestures. Read to your child. Start reading when your child is a baby. And use everyday situations to build on your child's speech and language. Talk your way through the day.
Time now for the top regional and international stories with Sandy Williams.
In the region, the United Nations has warned that armed violence has reached unimaginable and intolerable levels in Haiti. The UN said that between April 24 and May 16, at least 92 people unaffiliated with gangs and some 96 alleged gang members were reportedly killed during coordinated armed attacks in Port-au-Prince. Another 113 were injured, 12 reported missing, and 49 kidnapped for ransom, according to figures corroborated by the UN human rights officers, although the actual number of those killed may be much higher. In the coming weeks, the UN Security Council is due to debate the future mandate of the UN presence in Haiti. On the international scene, Days after the deadly mass shooting at a supermarket in a predominantly black neighborhood in Buffalo, New York, lawmakers are pushing for change. The Domestic Terrorism Prevention Act of 2022 is up for a vote on Wednesday. As its name indicates, the bill is aimed at preventing domestic terrorism and fighting violent extremism by white supremacists. It would set up office focused on domestic terrorism at the Department of Homeland Security, the Department of Justice, and the FBI. They would track and analyze domestic terrorist activity with the goal of preventing it rather than just reacting after the fact. The bill would also call for a report twice a year on the threats facing Americans with a specific section for white supremacists and neo-Nazis. Once the bill passes the Democratic-controlled House as expected, it will head to the Senate for consideration. And those were the top regional and international stories. I'm Sandy Williams.
And we head to a quick break. When we come back, Renata Brown will have your midday sports report.
Welcome back. It's now time for your midday sports. Now at sports time, the Jamaica Scorpions had the Windward Islands Volcanoes 72 for 6, batting first on day one of their third round regional 4-day game at the Brian Lara Cricket Academy. The Volcanoes had gotten to lunch at 68 for 5 as Markina Midley picked up 3 for 10 and Nichols Gordon 2 for 24 in the first session. Kavem Hodge has so far top scored with 23, while Kimani Milius has made 17. More cricket host Bangladesh hold a slight advantage heading into the final day of their first test against Sri Lanka, with the visitors trailing by 29 runs with 2 wickets down at Chattogram. Night watchman Lassit Embuldenia was bowled by Taijul Islam off the first ball of the final over in the day to leave Sri Lanka 39 for 2 at stumps. Opener Oshada Fernanda 19 is the other wicket to go, as captain Dumat Karunaratne is not out on 18. Earlier, Bangladesh resuming on 318 for 3 in response to Sri Lanka's first innings 379, posted 465. Mushfiqur Rahim, who was 53 overnight, was dismissed for 105, while Litan Das made 88. Tamim Iqbal had made a top score of 133. Kasun Rajita ended with 4 for 60, while Asit Fernando took 3 for 72. And locally, a champion for the Asa Gray Schoolboy T20 cricket competition will be crowned later today as St. Elizabeth Technical and Woolmer's boys will meet in the final on the lights at Sabina Park starting at 5 p.m. St. Elizabeth Technical, who defeated Excelsior High by 6 wickets in their semi-final contest, will be going for their second trophy this season, having already won the Headley Cup. Woolmer's missed out on the Urban Area Grey Shield title to Excelsior, but with a number of national youth representatives in their ranks, will be looking to keep the trophy in the corporate area. Preceding the final will be the third-place playoff between Manchester High and Excelsior starting at 1 p.m. Both games will be shown live on TVJ Sports Network. And in football, Waterhouse FC will play Violet AC in the semi-final of the CONCACAF Caribbean Club Championship after ending Group B unbeaten on Tuesday evening. Having beaten another Haitian club, Arca High, 2-0 in their opening game, the Jamaica Premier League runner-up ended goalless in their final group game against Fega Real on Tuesday to top the group. Violet finished second in Group A at the expense of Jamaica Premier League champions Cavalier, who squandered a 2-goal advantage twice to draw 3-3 with Cibao FC in their final group game. The winner of the Caribbean Club Championship will qualify for the 2023 CONCACAF Champions League, while the runner-up and third-place teams will head to the 2022 CONCACAF League. The fourth-place team will play against the Puerto Rican club Bayaman in a playoff for the last CONCACAF League place. Reggae boy Kemar Roof looks set to take the field for Rangers in their UEFA Europa League final today against Eintracht Frankfurt in Seville. The 29-year-old, who has scored 17 goals this season, has not played since injuring a knee in the Scottish Cup semi-final win over Celtic on April 17. Rangers are the first Scottish club to reach a final since they did so themselves in the UEFA Cup in 2008. They have now reached 5 finals, which is as many as every other Scottish side combined. The game is set to kick off at 2 p.m. And finally, Jimmy Butler's 41-point haul powered the Miami Heat to a 118-107 comeback win over the Boston Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals opener on Tuesday in the NBA. The Heat trailed by 8 points at halftime, but roared into a 76-64 lead, scoring 22 points for the concession of just 2 in a period of third-quarter dominance. Butler scored 17 of his points in the third quarter. The second contest in the 7-game series is on Thursday in Miami. The Golden State Warriors and the Dallas Mavericks contest their Western Conference Finals opener tonight. And that's it for your Midday Sports Report. O'Shane, it's back to you.
Thanks, Renato. And that's it indeed for the Midday News. I'm O'Shane Masters. Join us at 7 for Primetime News. On behalf of the news, sports and production teams, have a good afternoon.